Alright guys, welcome back to another video, and as you guys can see, we're here to do my 2025 movie room slash living room tour. And the big reason we're doing this is because this room got a massive upgrade to where it was before. We got a new projector screen from Valerion, as you guys saw in the title. We got a new projector itself, which is a huge upgrade to what we had before. That is right there. I used to have an Epson 5040. Now we got the Valerion Pro 2, which we're going to be talking about in this video. That was massively overdue for an upgrade. We have a new receiver in this room as well, which we'll talk about why we had to do that. And yeah, this room is in a much better place. It's changed a little bit since the last time you guys saw it with different decorations and stuff, but it's mostly otherwise stayed the same. But I'll show you guys a quick review of the room and then talk about specifically how good this projector is, how good the screen is, especially as somebody who had the Epson 5040 for the last 10 years, which the main reason I, for the last couple years, wanted to upgrade is because the Epson 5040, while a great projector and SDR, it never supported HDR fully because HDR wasn't a thing 10 years ago, and they didn't support HDR. Neither did my old receiver. So I had to finagle a way to get HDR support out of the Epson projector, which a lot of people in the community did when that projector came out, to get it to work on the Xbox and stuff, but it never looked that great because it wasn't a native HDR support. It didn't get that bright to do HDR highlights very well. And this projector that we're going to be talking about today does, and that's exactly why I wanted to upgrade. So a lot of different stuff to talk about here with the screen and everything. And also, I did not get paid to make this review. Valerion did not send me this projector out. I know a lot of people out there that you see in the reviews got this projector for free. Wish I did. I would still give you an honest review because I always do on this channel. But I did not get it sent for free. I'm doing this video for you guys because I got it and I want to share my experience with you guys about this stuff. But if you guys do want to support me and the channel and you like this review and you want to get this projector for yourself after you hear everything I have to say, and there were some issues and there's still some issues, so stay tuned for the video. Then I will have links down below to the Amazon affiliate links and everything that you guys can purchase this on Amazon. Right now, if you buy it in the month of September, not only do you get the projector itself, but you also get the screen. And this screen is a $1,500 screen, and they're literally just throwing it in for free with the projector. I don't think there's a better deal than that. Especially with how cool the projector screen is now that I got it dialed in, which we'll talk about. But yeah, this is going to be awesome to showcase this with you guys and show you everything that this room has to offer now and how much better it got. So let's go ahead and get into the video.
Gaming tech, eating brekkie is the gaming tech. Going for a brekkie is the gaming tech. Gaming tech is the gaming tech. Gaming tech.
Alright guys, so let's start off with giving you an overview of the room real quick. Like I said, most of this have stayed the same, but just in case you guys want to see some of this that you guys have not seen before. Yes, I already started decorating for Halloween, as I usually do. The projector is sitting here in the corner. We'll talk more about that in a minute. I don't know why those leaves fell off. I gotta fix that. We got some Hocus Pocus stuff over here and some nice Halloween decorations over here. But yeah, this is the living room side. This is why I call this half living room, half movie room, because when you look over here, it's very living room-esque, obviously. But then when you're coming here and you're sitting on the chairs and you look forward, it feels like a movie room. Now, for those of you guys who follow this channel for a long time, my movie room used to be downstairs in the basement, but then I turned that into my modern arcade, which is a much better situation because when I had this movie room downstairs, I wasn't using it that often because, well, I was using it all the time, but then I didn't use my living room, and I had a 65-inch TV here, which, to be fair, wasn't big enough, because if you can see the distance from here to here, you can see that it's a pretty big space, and for me, the 65 inches was just not big enough for a room of this size, and when people came over to watch football and stuff like that and play games, it just wasn't big enough, so I had to get a projector, and I wasn't going to get another projector in the house as somebody who already has way too many TVs in this house to begin with, so I moved the movie room up here. It makes a lot more sense, and then we got the, you know, like I said, the modern arcade that we created downstairs, which is a much better situation with everything we have down there that I've done a video on. But because of that, that also means that some of the movie room collectibles that I had, I didn't want to just throw out, so they kind of situated themselves up here. So that's why it's half living room, half movie room. So let's just go ahead and talk about some of the stuff here in case you guys haven't seen this in a while and have not seen my channel before. Here is my Star Wars shrine that we have over here in the corner. So we got a bunch of movie room stuff over here. There's the Star Wars stuff. Star Wars collectibles. We got one of my speakers right here. We'll talk about the speaker system in a minute. We got all of this right here. This is some Marvel stuff. We got some autographs from the Marvel stuff as well. From Agent Carter and, you know, Iron Fist. Got their autographs. Got Jessica Jones autograph on the pop. Really like those, like Captain America and Iron Man sitting up there with that cardboard cutouts. They look great. Some collectibles that we have over here as well, which is super cool. We got my Harry Potter favorite movie, one of my favorite movies, sitting right there. We got Darth Vader and Superman sitting right here, mostly because I had them downstairs, but also because I don't have all these wires hiding. I have them in white, so they're as good as they possibly could look, but a lot of this stuff, like I didn't want to open up holes in my ceiling and go back and forth because I'm not that skilled at that stuff, and I didn't want to mess with the electricity going through the walls and stuff like that without a professional doing it, and I already spent too much money. So I was like, I'm just going to leave it as is, which is the way it was before, and just make these white so it doesn't look as bad, which means that there's, I'll show you, not a crazy amount, but there's like a bundle of cables that's wrapped in a zip tie back there, so these guys are kind of hiding them so it doesn't look as bad, and looks as clean as possible here with just that cable like all white there. And then coming in the middle here, we've got a fireplace, we got the new Denon Receiver, we got a Switch 2, we got the Xbox Series X over here, and we got the home theater sign. We got a shrine over here for Ready Player One of my other favorite movies, which is really awesome. We got DC Comics over here. We got a Harry Potter shrine over here with the sorting hat that really does sort you, which is fun. Back to the Future hoverboard sitting right there. And then we got Mighty Ducks and Wreck-It Ralph, another great pair of movies. We got the Game of Thrones little area over here. We got House Targaryen with the flag. We got like the Game of Thrones like signed autograph section over here as well. The poster signed by a lot of the main characters, but unfortunately not Daenerys Targaryen and Jon Snow, which I hope to get one day. We got the Buzz Lightyear that is from Roboson Robotics that did a video review on this. This thing is super sick and awesome. It really does feel like a Buzz Lightyear toy, and it's awesome, even though it's really expensive. Same thing with the Transformers that's sitting here from the same company that I did a video review on, Optimus Prime, where he really does transform. It's really cool stuff to see from toys, even though they are expensive as hell. Then I have a bunch of collectibles from some of my favorite movies here, like E.T., got the Power Rangers, some TV show stuff, Terminator, Pirates of the Caribbean, National Treasury stuff, Fast and the Furious, so a bunch of different collectibles here. Little Back to the Future shrine with even the original envelope and the original letter that they got back in the day. We got Ghostbusters sitting right here. We got some stuff sitting up here when I went to California. We got Friends, Central Perk, the Notebook. We got the little Friends couch. We got the Warner Brothers Tower, Pixar ball. Cars, and just a bunch of different stuff here. So I really like the way that this room is set up for being a combo like this. I think it works really well, in my opinion, for what I like, and it served me well. Now, that's all the stuff that's kind of relatively stayed the same, but now we're going to talk about some of the good stuff that we got that made this room so much better, because it's a bunch of combinations of things. It's the projector from Valerion, it's the Valerion screen that we're going to be talking about, and it's the Denon Receiver. So let's quickly talk about the Denon Receiver and the speaker system in here. So first of all, I am running a 7.2 system. The way I have it set up is basically 5 speakers in surround sound, 2 Atmos speakers at the top, and 1 subwoofer, and that's what this receiver supports. Before, I used to have an X3300W. Now the receiver that I have, as you guys can see here, is the AVR X1800H. This is $700. It's not their most expensive model by a long shot, but this has everything that I could want in this receiver. It has 7.2, like I just talked about, 80 watts per channel. It's actually a little bit of a downgrade when it comes to the actual wattage for the speakers compared to my old one that was 95, but I do not notice a volume problem with the speakers. It still sounds just as loud to me, and that's what everyone said online, so I'm glad I didn't spend extra money to make those watts like the same, because I do not notice a difference in the volume at all. We got 6 HDMI ins and 1 HDMI out. If you guys need that, it does support eARC, 8K video, 4K, 120 hertz, VRR, HDR10, AirPlay 2, all that stuff, all the good stuff is on here. This is the main reason I upgraded this receiver, because my old one didn't support HDR out, and that was the whole reason I just told you guys I got this projector, is HDR support. So if my old receiver wasn't passing through HDR10 or Vision or Dolby Vision, so I had to get a new projector at that point. It only supported regular HDR, and I was like, nope, not spending all this money on the projector to not be able to pass it through my receiver. So we got this new receiver. It's working amazing. It's the one I recommend most people get, unless if you need more HDMI outs, or the wattage isn't enough, or if you have a different speaker configuration, because this only supports 7.2, so you can't have 4 Atmos speakers, for example. You can only have these 2. So it depends on your setup, but for me, it's perfect for this size room, and it's amazing. So here are my speakers. You got one here in the corner for the right one, you got the center one down here, you got the left one over there, you got the surround sound one sitting right there and right here, and then you got the 2 Atmos ones sitting up there, and it works extremely well. So that is the surround sound system. So we upgraded the receiver, much better receiver for technology of today, even though the wattage didn't get upgraded. Everything else about that receiver is much better. It fully supports 4K, pass-through, 8K actually, and all the HDR stuff. So great. We got that taken care of. The next thing we have here is the Valerion projector. Like I said, this is something that I was really excited to get. First of all, the sheer size of this is so much smaller than the Epson. That's because this is a laser projector. It's rated to get at least 25,000 hours. So no more bulbs that I have to worry about. With the Epson projector, I had to replace the bulb, and they cost about $250 every time you have to replace the bulb. So Don't have to worry about that. This just lasts for 25,000 hours or more. You don't have to change the bulb every like 2 to 2,500 hours like the Epson. And it's much smaller. I do like the industrial design of it, which I think looks really good. It's probably not a design everyone loves, but I love the modern like industrial look that this projector has. And it fits really well on here. Now, like I said, they have a bunch of different models on their website. This is their model that costs $3,000. This is the model that I would recommend most people get if they want like the best of Valerion. They do have a Max model that's coming out here shortly as well, which is $5,000. I haven't obviously seen that one. I can't imagine that it's going to be $2,000 more worth of money, even though they are running a sale right now if you want to get that for $4,300 instead. But considering how good this projector is that I'm about to show you, I don't know how that one could convince me that it's that much better to spend that much more money. So I didn't even care about waiting for that one. But this one here is the Pro 2 model. So this one here is, like I said, 4K support, 4K 60. It does support 120 FPS if you lower the resolution to 1080p, but it does not support 120 at 4K, and that's not a Valerian thing. That's just the way the technology is right now. There's no projectors on the market that fully support VRR 4K 120 on these consoles right now or anything like that, except like some Chinese projectors that are out there. So yeah, not something that you're going to get on most projectors anyway. And I personally don't care because most of the games on consoles are always 60 hertz. And even if they're not, and they give you the option of 120 or 60, I'm always choosing 60 because I'd rather take the higher fidelity. I think 60 is perfectly fine for most of the games I play. If I want to get something with higher frames, that's what my PC in my office is for. So for me, that's perfect. And this projector is, like I said, it has all that, has so many features. It has Google TV built in, which is awesome. So you get your Netflix and all your shows, which I'll showcase here in a minute. It's got 3 HDMI ports on the back. One of them is 2.0, which is the HDMI ARC, and 2 of them are HDMI 2.1. Now, I was nervous about that originally because I was like, crap, I have one HDMI cable going from my receiver, and if you don't plug it into the ARC port, which is only 2.0, then you're not going to get sound out of this thing when you plug it into your receiver when it comes to Google TV that this thing has built in. Then you're only going to hear that stuff from this speaker, which is not what I wanted, obviously. I wanted it to pass the audio so I can use the Google TV built into this and not use the built-in speakers. By the way, the speakers built in are actually pretty goddamn good. They're not bad at all. But obviously, you're not going to use it when you have a system like this. But in a pinch, it works. But I was worried about that because I was like, so does that mean I'm going to have to rotate the cable that every time I want to watch Google TV, I plug it into the ARC port, and then I have to come into the projector and rotate it to HDMI 1 or 2 that actually supports 2.1, so my Series X and Switch and PlayStation 5 actually get the full bandwidth of what 2.1 offers? And I found out it's not. You guys can correct me if I'm wrong down in the comments below. But because this doesn't support 4K 120 anyway, which is one of the benefits of 2.1, everything else that the Xbox supports, and I'll show you guys that in the settings, and the Switch works just on the 2.0 port on this projector. It supports 4K 60, it supports Dolby Vision, it supports HDR and HDR10, it supports all of that stuff, and it also supports the I think it's called ALM, or I could be saying that wrong. I'll put it down here if I'm saying it wrong, but basically it's the fast response time that that 2.1 gives you when it comes to instant like game response and stuff like that. And the game response on this projector is great. And the response time on this projector is actually really good. On 4K 60, I think it's a little higher than it would be. Like if you do like 1080p to 120 or whatever, then you can get like 17 milliseconds. But if you do 4K 60, then I think you get something like in the 20s instead. Regardless, when I'm playing, I don't notice any input lag that's affecting my gameplay, which is kind of the whole point. So I think you guys are going to be really happy with the gaming performance and all of that on a projector, which is really good. So this is a really solid projector for not just movies, but gaming, which is obviously the combo I needed. So yeah, what I found out is that it didn't matter. So I have it plugged into that port, and I don't have to rotate it back and forth because it seems like the consoles are getting the full bandwidth of everything it's supposed to get, which is obviously really great. Now, the other thing I also got is the mount. I got this Valerion mount as well. The reason that this mount is important and I really like it, first of all, it kind of matches the vibe, but also it's a 360 mount. So you can turn this up, down, left, right, 360 all over the place because of the gimbal that's on it, which is really awesome. And the reason that that's important is because this projector screen that we're going to talk about here in a minute, it does not, this projector doesn't support pixel shifting. So you can't shift the lens vertically left and right or anything. So you really need a good position on this to fit, and pay attention to the projector screen throwing. So for those of you guys new to projectors, depending on how far the screen is from the projector, for a projector like this, it needs to be at a good throwing position, either the minimum to the max, because if you go over the max, then you're going to have issues, and if you go under the minimum, you're going to have issues. So yes, it has some features in here that I'll show in the projector that you can use to make that a little bit easier, but the point is that you want to get this projector in as perfect position as possible, and this mount makes that much easier, because most of the mounts I've had for projectors in the past, they don't have a gimbal style where you move it any direction you want, because my old Epson 5040 actually had vertical shift. And actually, to be fair, the Max that I was talking about before, that's $5,000, does have that vertical shift, but didn't care, didn't need it, because I got this situated perfectly on the screen, because it's in a perfect position, and with the gimbal there, I was able to move it and finagle it in a great position, and only had to slightly use their software technology that I'll show you guys when I get into that, kind of adjust the screen. So we'll talk about that when we get into the settings. But yeah, this mount was really awesome, and I really like that. Now, the screen here that we got from Valerion, like I said, it's a $1,500 screen, and the reason that it's so freaking good is, first of all, it's made specifically for this projector, so it's tuned to get rid of speckle. Now, speckle is basically a thing that happens with these laser projectors, not just this one, but all of them, that sometimes produces rainbow effects depending on what's happening on the screen. Now, I haven't seen it. It's not something I visibly notice. Some people are more receptive to it than others, and this screen helps reduce it by a lot, which is what everyone has said, and it's obviously great, and it's specifically tuned. And you can tell this screen, $1,500, is way better than my old $300 screen that I had with the Epson 5040, because the contrast and the dynamic range that you get on this screen is so much better, because I had the other screen connected when I got the projector, and this screen is so much better than my old one. It's not even close. You can tell when watching content, like, the screen matters, so don't get like $100 screen or put like a curtain up and think you're going to get the same quality that you would get on a screen like this, because it's not true. And the fact that they're giving this away right now for free with the projector is insane. And the fact that I jumped on that deal and got lucky that was going on when I started looking at this made me even happier. So that's one of the first things I like about it. The second thing, of course, is the fact that it's white. It's not black like my old one, so it kind of just goes more with the ceiling a little bit, which I like. It's also 120 inch as opposed to 110 inch, so it's bigger than my old one as well. So that obviously is awesome. It's a motorized screen, so it does come with a remote, so you can move the screen up and down when you need to right here. But what I really like, and this is what happens when you get things that all sync together, is my receiver, my screen, and my projector all communicate with each other. So basically, I only need to use one remote. This is the Valerion remote that came with this projector here, which I really like because it backlights the home screen and these two buttons here, and the power button to turn it on, and the speaker button over here for Google TV. The only thing it doesn't backlight that I wish it did was the plus and minus buttons for the volume, but regardless, really nice remote. But when you turn on the projector, and I'm going to show you guys this in a minute, there is a USB that this thing comes pre-configured with that goes into the projector, and that's sitting right there, that is pre-synced with this screen, and we're going to talk about some of the issues I had with that later on. But basically now it's working, and when I turn on the projector, my receiver automatically turns on, the projector turns on, and the screen will come down and go to the exact position that I saved it in. So I don't have to grab this remote and point it to go down, because if I did the remote and point it to go down, it will still go to the same position that I needed it to go to that I saved before. But now I just press one button, and you guys will see it here. The projector will turn on here in a minute, and the projector screen in about 5 seconds will start going down. The receiver will also turn on. You'll hear it click here in a minute. So you can see it is coming down right now, and it's going to go to the exact position. The receiver turned on, the projector obviously turned on here, and we have all the lights on just to show you guys how bright this projector gets, because it is insane. Obviously, this is not the ideal way to watch it, because you are going to lose a lot of contrast and stuff if you have lights on, especially with these two lights that are here. I could just turn these off and leave the rest on, but I just want to show you how bright this projector actually gets, because it's pretty crazy. So this projector went down to the exact position I needed to. It does go down further if you need it to, which is really nice. It has like 20 inches of give from the top of the screen to the rest of what's in there, which a lot of screens don't do. So you can really position it to exactly where you need it to, which is really nice. This is at the edge of the screen, top to bottom, but it can go 20 inches more down than where it is right now. This is just my perfect position. So another thing that a lot of screens don't do, which is nice. So now that it's in the perfect position, let me just show you guys YouTube real quick with the lights on, just to show you, look how bright this projector is. Yes, so you're obviously losing a lot of colors and contrast while with the bright lights, because projectors are obviously better with no lights on, or very dim lights. And I have bright ass 10 lights in this room. But the fact that I can see the screen this well, 3,000 lumens on this projector versus my old Samsung 5040 that only had, with my old Epson that only had, I think it was 2,200 lumens, is a gigantic difference. Gigantic. And this is an HDR YouTube video stream that you guys are about to see. Let me just skip the ads here real quick. But look at how good this looks. Not only the quality of the HDR, but the fact that I can see this screen this well. Look at that. Look at that resolution. Look, yes, it's 4K pixel shifting, which is basically upscaling a 2K image and upscaling the rest with 4K, but you would never notice. And that's the same thing with my old projector, to be fair. SDR content in 4K. It looks amazing, and it looks even better on here than it ever did before. It looks fantastic, and I couldn't tell you if this didn't look 4K or not. Like, this looks 4K to me. Like, it's not like, oh, you can easily tell from this distance and stuff like that while I'm looking. This looks outstanding in detail. It looks like it's a 4K signal. It definitely does not look like a 1080p signal. And the pixel shifting technology has gotten so much better that, yeah. I mean, to get a native 4K projector costs a lot more than this, and it probably won't even still look as good because of how good the blacks on here are, because of the black feature that they have on this projector, which we'll showcase here in a minute. But yeah, this looks amazing. Let me go ahead and turn off the lights. So now this is with it off. Now, what's really weird is that here in the room, I don't know why this is showing up so purple on the top of the projector right here. That is not something I see when I'm in the room. I'm staring at that top of my ceiling right now, and I do not see that. So that must be the reflection of this camera and the way that it's capturing that. So ignore that. Because it's not happening while I'm staring at the screen now, but it's crazy how visible it is on this camera. But look at how good this looks. It looks, and it's daylight outside, by the way. It's not dark. I mean, it's not dark out. Granted, I have curtains that are blocking everything here, but my point is that, you know, it's not. It looks slightly better in the daylight. It looks slightly better in the darkness when it's dark out, and it's not even dark out. But this looks amazing, amazing, way better. And because of the HDR support than my Epson 5040 did. It's like night and day. And the black levels are also night and day better than the 5040 was too. So the black levels are much better than my old projector. The HDR support, since it actually supports it and I didn't have to do any finagling like in this YouTube video right now, looks better than it ever has. It has the brightness of 30,000 lumens, so it could actually do those highlights and everything that HDR needs, which the old projector couldn't do. So it just looks amazing. So, like I said, this has Google TV support, so you have all the apps that you're used to on here that you guys would expect. Let me go ahead and put the camera down so I'm not shaking it the whole time. So the screen here, like I said, it has everything that you can want. And yes, Netflix supports 4K, HDR, all that stuff on here. We're not going to launch a show so I don't get copyright striked right now, but I just want to show you, like, when you look at shows that like support things like that, you know, if you're watching something like Transformers, for example, you'll see right at the top, it supports 4K, it supports Dolby Vision, it has Atmos support, so my system supports Atmos, it has the 4K, and it has Dolby Vision, which everything here supports as well. So it looks really, really good on here. Contrast and stuff like that looks amazing. I love having the Google TV platform just built right into the projector, so I don't even need to use anything if I don't need to, which is awesome. And it just works really well. It also has an actual CPU in here that is actually viable. I forget the exact model that it has, but it's actually a good one that actually lets Google TV run super smooth. It actually runs smoother than the Google TV like little plugins that Google sells. This actually runs way smoother as I move around and download apps and stuff. It's not sluggish at all, so you can tell there's a faster processor in here, which is really nice that they did that and they didn't cheap out. So that's also really good on how smooth this is. And it just runs super well. Now let's go over some of the settings that this projector has that I wanted to talk about here. Now the settings that you have on here, I'm not going to go through every single setting. I'm going to link down below the guide that I watched, because there's somebody on YouTube that basically went through all the settings and gave us the best settings that you could use. So I'm going to obviously gear it to him and not redo his video for no reason, and give him credit, because I used his video to basically mimic all of the settings. So basically I use 3 different modes on here. I use the picture mode called theater on here. And then the other one I use is sports, when I'm watching sports. So theater is what this is in. If I'm watching movies and stuff like that that are not HDR, then it will be in theater mode. If I am watching sports that's in SDR, then it will be in sports mode. So I have those 2 different modes right now. Now there's also an HDR mode, which we'll talk about, and a Dolby Vision mode, which when I turn that on, I'll show you. But right now in the settings, I have sports for sports and theater for anything SDR. So that's why it's in SDR right now. Then you have a bunch of these options here, and this is one of the things I wanted to show you. Now I'm not going to actually do it because I already have the screen perfectly calibrated, and I don't want to mess it up. But when I talked about the positioning of putting this projector, this is not new to this projector, but what is new is that it has auto keystone correction, which is really, really convenient, because yes, a lot of projectors that use keystone, basically it's trying to align your screen if it's not perfect, because like I said, this doesn't have pixel shifting vertically. So it's going to use software enhancements to basically cut out and crop in some of the image to make it fit on your screen perfectly. And A lot of projectors do manual where you do it yourself. This one has a camera on the front of the projector that looks at your screen and it automatically adjusts the keystone, which is really, really cool. And it puts it right into the position that it needs to be in. I'm not going to do it right now because I already did the manual correction and I have it dialed into my screen position. And I don't want to mess with that again. But just know that it looks really, really good. It works really well. And if you need it, it's there. Now, the ideal situation is that you position your projector where you don't need to use keystone at all. Because a lot of people say it sometimes, like, since it's cropping some of the things and using software enhancements, that you lose some of the brightness and resolution. Now, a lot of people who have this projector specifically have not noticed any decrease in resolution or decrease in anything when using keystone. So it seems like Valerion really went above and beyond and making sure that their keystone is working extremely well, that it's not even noticeable. I'm sure if you maybe did some side-by-side with a projector that did or didn't have it on with the Valerion, that you might notice it. But to my naked eye, it looks amazing like I just showed you guys, and it's not making a difference for me. But I would still tell you, if you don't need to use keystone, then, you know, don't use it and try to get it manually done by just moving the projector and on the gimbal as much as possible like I did. And I only had to adjust it a little bit with keystone, which is great. So that's a feature on here that's really cool. Then you got all your standard stuff on here. It does autofocus as well using that camera, which is awesome. You don't have to sit here and like dial up and down looking for the focus. So that is really nice that it just focuses on the images for you to get it clear if it goes out of focus. You can zoom in, so you could zoom in the display back and forth if you need to make it smaller or bigger. So that you can do, and it has, I'll show you guys here in a minute. It has optical zoom, so use the optical zoom, and it fits in perfectly into my screen like you can see with the white borders. If you wanted to use digital zoom, I wouldn't do that at all because it's going to digitally zoom in your image, and it's going to make the image definitely look worse. So use the optical zoom if you need to, like I did, but definitely don't use the digital zoom. Some of the other settings that are in the projector here that we can talk about. You can position the adjustment. You can do auto keystone as soon as you move the projector. It can do the auto keystone if you want it to. It can even avoid obstacles in the way when it's doing auto keystone, which is really awesome with that camera that it has. You can turn on ultra sharp mode. I think that was on by default, and you should definitely leave that on. This is something you could turn on. Then you have the installation for front ceiling if you need to turn that on. You got 3D mode on here, which we're definitely going to talk about. So some really good settings on here. And then if we go back, you got the display and sound here. So you got the picture mode here that we were talking about before. You got general. So these are all the settings that I dialed in for each of those modes: the theater, the sports, and the HDR support. But I followed it with that guy's video, so I'm not going to go through all these settings right now because, like I said, he already did that for us. So look up the video down below if you guys want to adjust your picture quality for theater, for sports, and for HDR, because that's exactly what I followed. This lets you adjust the picture size, which is really cool. So this does support like max film size, which is really awesome. Disney Plus supports that, which is really cool. So if Disney Plus movies support that IMAX format, you're going to be able to watch it in IMAX, and it's going to take up more of the screen on here, which is freaking awesome. You can put your screen size here, like mine's 120-inch screen. This needs to be turned on when you follow their guide. Make sure you do it correctly on the USB thing that I was talking about that syncs the screen. So make sure you do that correctly. And then here you can adjust the sound. eARC is obviously set to auto, and it's just passing through the audio, so nothing really special there. This is just set to eARC. There's optical on the back if you want to use that, or Bluetooth speakers and stuff, but obviously mine is set to go. Then you have your network and internet. I have it plugged in through Ethernet, but it does have Wi-Fi support as well. You can sign into your account, privacy, all the apps that you have installed from Google TV. This does do updates sometimes in the About section. If you need to update it when you first get it, make sure you update it. You got the remote that you can pair. It has Bluetooth, so you can pair an Xbox controller to it like I had before, and all that stuff is kind of there and ready to go. Now, that kind of talks about all the settings that I kind of have on here ready to go. Now that we saw what it looks like to watch, that on here, like I said, Disney Plus supports some of their movies support IMAX, which is really great. And I'm just going to show you this here for a second, so not to get copyright strict. But some of the movies are IMAX enhanced, and it looks fantastic on here. Like, for example, one of the ones that I was watching yesterday is Avengers Infinity War, and you can see when you go to a movie, you can see on top it says Dolby Vision, but it also has IMAX enhanced there in the corner. So that means that it's basically IMAX enhanced instead of being the usual either 21:9 that movies are filmed, which gives you the large black bars on these screens on top and bottom. This one will actually give you a lot less black bars because it was filmed like the film creators actually wanted to see it. So see how much smaller this is than it would be otherwise. So this is taking up the majority of my screen. That's how you know it's IMAX enhanced. Usually those black bars are much bigger. So Don't want to get copyright strikes, so we'll exit that. But point is, that is looking a lot better on there. All right, so we have all that taken care of. Let's go ahead and now talk about 3D on here. Now, it doesn't come with 3D glasses. However, you could buy 3D glasses. They sell 2 pairs for $80. And these are the glasses. They look really good. They're rechargeable. They last 50 hours on a recharge, so they do last a long time. They're really comfortable and nice and thin, nice quality glasses that they made. And this is the best 3D movie experience that I've had on any projector. Let's go ahead and flip the camera towards me for a minute. With these lenses that you have on here, with these 3D ones, like I said, you plug them in USB to charge them. Micro USB, actually. You power them on right here at the top. There's a little button right there that you just press and it lights up in blue when it's on. Lasts 50 hours, so a lot of recharge time and stuff like that. And they're really comfortable and nice and thin, and they're good quality. Again, 2 pairs for $80. I have 4 pairs for when people come over. And I had an Epson 5040 before, and obviously that supported 3D. And the 3D on there was good. It wasn't bad at all. However, because the projector didn't get as bright as this one, the mild one was 2200, this is 3000, we know that 3D suffers from getting not as bright because of this technology of 3D, putting glasses in front of you. Then that means that the brightness isn't going to be as bright as if you didn't have these glasses on at all, because this is shading some of the brightness away. So they do have a mode on here, which I'll show you guys when I turn on one of the 3D movies, that basically lets the projector get even brighter specifically for 3D movies. Now, you only want this setting on for 3D movies because it makes everything else look like garbage if you use that brightness up from everything I've noticed. So only for 3D movies, but it makes 3D movies a lot brighter. It looks a lot better, and it's definitely the way that you should watch 3D movies, and it makes this projector be the best 3D movie experience I've had on any projector. The 5040 is nowhere near as good as this. The black levels, I almost forgot to show you guys that. I'll show you guys that as soon as we flip the camera back around. The black level setting, you need to turn that on for everything. Whether you're playing consoles, watching movies, watching Google TV, 3D movies, make sure that setting is turned on. The guy did talk about that in his video, but just in case. Because it's a really important setting, because that's the main reason of the selling point of this projector, is how good the blacks are on a projector like this. So, while watching 3D movies on here, like I said, the only thing that rivals this projector that I have at home right now is my Apple Vision Pro. And the reason for that is because the Apple Vision Pro also has 4K panels, like you obviously know, with those, but it also supports 4K HDR 3D. It's the first time that 3D movies have been encoded in 4K HDR from Apple that they're selling, and also Disney Plus that has the exclusiveness on there. So unfortunately, you can't watch that anywhere else except for on the Apple Vision Pro. So when I have 3D movies that I either watch directly from my Blu-ray collection, which are 1080p, or you know, ones that I rip, they're not being ripped in HDR, and they're not going to be as good quality-wise. So it's not the nature of the 3D-ness of this or the projector, it's the fact that the movie quality are being better streams for the Apple Vision Pro because they're in HDR for the first time and because they're in 4K. So if I'm watching a solo 3D movie that I have on Disney Plus or I want to buy on Apple TV, then I'll still use the Apple Vision Pro because it's going to be a better 3D experience. But that's a one-person experience. So if I have people coming over, now I can put this on for 3D and people are going to enjoy it, and it's going to look the best it ever has looked that I've ever seen on a projector. So I'm really happy with the 3D performance on here, and it's the best I've seen. Let me show you a little bit of what I'm talking. Not that you're going to be able to see what 3D movies look like anyway, because obviously I can't show you that on screen. But looking at this screen right now, I either watch the 3D Blu-rays, but I also have, you know, Plex as well. Well, I actually use Streamo that has all of my Plex movies on there as well. So I have like a section for all my 3D movies. Like, for example, the last thing I was watching was San Andreas from Plex. And if I click on San Andreas, I'll show you guys the setting that I was talking about before. If I click on the settings here, now it's not going to start in 3D, so it's going to show a double image here in a minute. And you can see it's playing a double image, so obviously you need to put it in 3D. So you basically go into the... So you basically click the little settings button here, and the settings that I usually hit is this one right here on the remote. It's this one up here, and it brings the bottom bar, and then if you scroll to the right with these quick actions, you'll see one of them is 3D, and then you could do side by side, and boom, it's going to flip the image, and now it's going to go into 3D format. And then, like I said, you need to make sure that that brightness setting is on. Only use this for 3D movies. Don't use it for anything else, otherwise it's going to look like crap. So go into settings, then go into display and sound, go into picture, and you'll see here under, actually it was under laser luminance. This is the enhanced black level that I was talking about before. Make sure that if you're not following that guy's video, this is turned off by default. Make sure that black level is set to high dynamic contrast. That is the recommended one for everything. And like I said, consoles, Google TV that's built into this, or 3D movies, this should always be on because it gives you much deeper blacks than if this was off, and gives you much higher contrast with dark levels and dark detail on as well. But this is what I'm talking about right here, brightness enhancer. This is off for everything but 3D movies. When you turn this on, boom, you go ahead and set this to high, and then you go ahead and back out. Now you can see it makes the image quality look like crap right now if you're not watching 3D movies because it's really bright. And I accidentally, apparently this accidentally gave me, exited out of the movie. Well, it didn't accidentally, it exited out of the movie when you go into the settings. So maybe turn on that the brightness setting before you turn the 3D movie on. So right now you can see it like, you have to go ahead and turn this back on to 3D. So yeah, do it backwards, obviously. Turn on the setting before you turn on the 3D movie. And then boom, now you're watching it in 3D. And then I take my glasses right here and I go ahead and power them on. You can see the blue signal. I turn them on, and obviously you're not going to be able to see this with me, but I'm going to go ahead and flip the camera here and just to showcase this to you guys that I'm watching it in 3D. And I wish I can tell this to you guys, but the reason that this 3D image is so good and much better than my other projector, the black levels, of course, like I talked about, the higher brightness, so it makes watching these movies that much better. But it's also the best looking pop out I've ever seen. For all the movies, and these are movies that I've ripped from my Blu-ray collection that I've had on my server for a while, that I used to watch on my old projector, and they look so much better on here because the 3D pop out, like, there's no setting on this projector to make the 3D pop out more and more. It's just set at its max level, I guess. There's no customization to that. But the pop out on this is the best I've ever seen on a projector. It looks so good. It's like theater quality. Like watching Avatar on here is amazing, and it has the same pop out effect that I got in the theaters, where my Epson did not. So 3D performance on this projector is outstanding. I'll stop gushing about this. You guys know how much I love 3D on this channel, and I think they knocked it out of the park with 3D support. I'm so happy that they support 3D because some projectors are even getting rid of it, and we know how hard it is to get 3D content now, and I'm so happy that I now have a 120-inch screen that I could watch 3D movies on, which is freaking awesome. So let's go ahead now and switch over to looking at the Xbox and console side of things. So I'm going to go ahead and now turn on the Xbox Series X just to show you guys the quality of it and just show you guys those settings that I was talking about before. So I turn the Xbox on. I do have to change the input on the remote because right now it's just set to the built-in Google TV Home. So you go, oh, actually, you know what? See, I almost forgot. See how everything doesn't look that great? You got to turn off that brightness setting if you're not watching 3D content or else this is not going to look that great. So you can also go into here and go to picture mode on the quick settings, go to laser and luminance, and turn this off. You can see everything is just way too bright from most other things. So 3D movies only. Got it. Awesome. All right, so now you're going to go ahead and hit that settings button, and then you're going to go into inputs right here, and then you're going to switch this to HDMI 3, which is where my Xbox is plugged into my receiver. Now you can see the Xbox is right there, and obviously you guys don't know, you're not here, but just when I turn this Xbox on, immediately this looks 10 times, not 10 times, all right, 3 or 4 times better than my Epson 5040 did. Because again, this is an HDR console, so things are already in HDR, and it looks so much better than the other projector. It is night and day difference when I turn this projector on compared to my other projector, the Epson 5040, which, by the way, was not a bad projector, but again, without the HDR support, it didn't have the vibrancy and the colors that you would get now on something like this. And this just looks amazing. We're not going to sit here and play a game, but you guys can just see through the console here how much better this actually looks than, you know, otherwise, which is freaking awesome. So this looks really, really, really good, and really, really happy with how this looks. And it has great HDR support, and it looks so vibrant, and it makes playing Xbox games feel new again compared to my other projector. And now when I want to play Xbox, I won't feel like I'm missing out and being like, oh, I wish I was playing on an OLED. Now, to be fair, an OLED will still give you much better, like it's going to give you better blacks. I have an OLED in the house. It's going to give you better blacks and contrast, because it's hard to compare a projector to an OLED TV. But it's obviously gotten much closer with this projector than my old one, where now I don't sit down and be like, oh, I wish I wasn't watching it on this. Now I'm like, no, I'm watching it on this. It's 120 inches. This is glorious. In surround sound. So yeah, it just looks amazing. And it just gets so bright. And again, those colors that you're seeing are just because of this camera, the way that it's filming. That purple haziness that's on the screen right now is definitely not there. But it must just be the way that this camera is picking things up. But I did want to show you, if you go to TV and options here, you can see it is in 4K. It is 60 hertz, like I said. And you can see the details of everything it supports. Your TV supports 4K at 60 HDR. And your TV does not support 4K at 120, which I said at the beginning of the video does not. It says you do support 1080p at 120, which is great. It does support HDR10. It does give that warning about Dolby Vision for gaming. Works at 4K 60, but you may experience issues like increased latency, which I'm not experiencing, and it works just fine. And you can see if you scroll down to the bottom, it says Your TV supports 10-bit at 24, 10-bit at 50, 10-bit at 60, HDR10, and Dolby Vision. So it supports everything you basically want it to support is all there. And you can see I have everything here turned on, allowing 4K, HDR, Dolby Vision for gaming. All of that is turned on. Everything is working extremely well. So yeah, it's working really well on here, and it looks fantastic, and I have no complaints about this. Let's go ahead and just switch over to the Nintendo Switch so you guys can see what that looks like. So here we are. Obviously, I have my Pro Controller right here in my hand, and you can see the Nintendo Switch here was dialed in and also looks fantastic in HDR. Just look at how good this screen actually looks on here. And I'll show you a quick game of Mario Kart just to show you how good it looks. But let's just go into the settings real quick. You can see here, if I scroll all the way down to display, you can see HDR output is turned on, TV resolution is at 4K. You can see the information here is showing 60 Hertz HDR right there. You can see the RGB is set to full range, and everything is looking good. You can see it does support ALLM, like I talked about before. So auto low latency is working, which is great. And I already adjusted my HDR support, so you can see that this is all ready to go, and it looks fantastic. Let me just show you a quick thing of Mario Kart, just like a lap, so you guys can see how good this can actually look when you have a projector of this quality with this great HDR support. Like, I am super impressed with this projector as far as the visual quality that you get with all of this stuff and the 3D experience. It kind of blew me away when I first turned it on, I'm not gonna lie. It's a combination of the projector being that good, but it's also a combination of just how good the screen is as well. Like I said, having a good screen definitely makes a difference. People think that it doesn't, but it does actually make a pretty big difference as far as this goes. And just to show you guys real quick, when you're in a game, which thank God I went into it, you do not want HDR energy saving to be on. Sometimes this thing picks things that like it shouldn't pick. I don't know why it went into energy saving mode, but that's not the setting I want, and I noticed it because of how high the brightness was on the screen. But basically, like I said, if I'm playing a game, there is HDR game. Where did it go? HDR game right there. So that is a setting that I've already fine-tuned with all the guys' settings that I talked about before in the guys' video that will be linked down below. So these are the best settings. So make sure when you're playing a game, whether it's Xbox or Switch or PC, that you have the game mode on. If it's HDR, then you turn on, you know, HDR game like you just saw. Sometimes if it's Dolby Vision, like on Xbox, it would say Dolby Vision. You're just going to change that to Dolby Vision Gaming when you want to do that. So just keep that in mind. Let's just go ahead and do a lap of something here. Question is which one? Yeah, let's just do the beach. Sure. Let's turn the volume just a little bit so you guys can hear it, and just show you a lap of how this actually looks. So here we go. Now some of this might be blowing out because of how bright this is on the screen right now. So just keep that just keep that in mind. But this looks really, really good. Like I said, I don't know how it's coming across on camera. Hopefully it's coming across decent. But I can tell you in person, it looks amazing in HDR. What a difference this projector is compared to the old one. Colors are so vibrant, things look so good. The way that the game was originally intended. And on a gigantic 120-inch screen. Which is obviously the whole point of this, is just having a screen of this size. Especially in the room that I have. Like I said, this room just doesn't fit like a 60-inch screen. And I couldn't even go any bigger because of the fireplace in the ceiling. So 65 was the biggest I could have had, and it just wasn't big enough for this room. This is a great size for this room. But yeah, we don't have to sit here and play this. I just wanted to show you guys this for a minute. Look at DK Spaceport sitting back there. But yeah, awesome, awesome stuff. Now, the last thing I wanted to show you guys before we talk about just some of the negatives that I had with this that I'm working on is just the PC support as well. So there is a caveat. So with the PC here, there was something it took me a while to figure out with this projector that was driving me crazy, is that when I set the computer to 4K, it was not letting me on the computer to select 4K HDR with 60 frames a second. Every time I selected HDR, I wanted to drop the 4K down to 30, and then it also wouldn't let me choose full color range. It always wanted to go down to limited. And I thought it was a projector thing, and then I thought it was my cable, but I knew I was using a fiber optic cable, which you should definitely use a fiber optic HDMI cable when dealing with a projector, especially if you're going a long distance like I am. I got a 100-foot one and it worked great. I'll put that link down below as well for the cable I use if you need that. They have different sizes. But one of the things you need to do for your PC, let's go ahead and switch to it first. So my PC is connected directly to the projector at HDMI 2. You can see instant game response is on. So there is my projector displaying my computer. Now, before I figured this out, and now you guys won't have to figure it out because I figured it out for you. So now when you go under the quick bar settings that I was talking about before, if you scroll over and you look at HDMI format, HDMI format right here is really important. So you can see that the first one is set to auto, the second one is enhanced pro, the third one is enhanced format. So you can see enhanced pro, you can see what the descriptions are here on the left. Auto will transition to whatever it needs. And most of the time, auto is what it should work. And auto is what my PC was set to, but it wasn't obviously doing it correctly. So I had to change it to enhanced pro. If I didn't have enhanced pro on, and I had it set to auto, it wouldn't let me choose that full color range. It kept limiting it to limited unless if I went under 60 frames a second. So as soon as I switched the HDMI 2 to Enhanced Pro, that let me use the full color range with 4K 60 at HDR. So keep that in mind so it doesn't drive you crazy like it did to me, that this needs to be on Enhanced Pro more than likely, at least for my PC. And it did not work on auto like it comes by default and do what it's supposed to. So keep that in mind. I on HDMI 3, which is where my receiver is plugged into, is just set to enhanced format, which is the highest format that this one supports because it's not a PC, it's just a console. But yeah, that's what I would recommend you do, so keep that in mind. And there definitely is nothing better than having a projector now that I have plugged into my office PC, which my office is over there, and now I have the HDMI fiber optic cable plugging in directly to this projector, and now I can play 4K 60 games. Sure, I can't do 120 like I could on my monitors that I have, and my monitors are OLED panels, so they'll get darker blacks and stuff like that I have in my office. But if I'm not wanting to play in my office for some reason, even though I would say if I'm by myself, I'd probably play my PC games in my office most of the time because that's why I have those OLED screens. However, if I want to, for some reason, experience it on a 120-inch screen, or if I have friends over, we're not going to play on that monitor or my PC, but I own some games on PC that I don't own on consoles, like NBA 2K, for example. Now I can easily just turn this projector on. It's already powered on over there and connected via HDMI to that other room for my office that, you know, you guys have seen my office before, and it has like my computer sitting right there. It's wired to the way it is right now, and boom, I have this monitor on so I can see things, and then I have this one on as well, and then I can just be ready to go, and I can play my PC games very easily when people come over, and I can blast them on this screen, and it looks amazing on here. Again, HDR support. My PC also supports surround sound. So I get the surround sound from my PC. I also get the 4K HDR support at 60 frames a second. And I don't really care about playing most of the games in 60 frames a second on this big screen. If I want to have a higher frame game, then I'll go play it on my PC. But the fact that I can have a 120-inch screen and play these games, and more importantly is the fact that I buy majority of my games are on PC, unless if it's like an exclusive on Xbox or PlayStation or Switch. So now I can actually play some of these games and I have to hover around a smaller screen when a bunch of friends come over, and we could just play it on this big screen, but it's still running off my PC, which uses the power of my PC to make these games look better than a console can ever look. So what would you rather do? Play NBA 2K on a console at 4K 60, or connect your PC to this projector and have it play at 4K 60 and HDR also, but just have the power of a 5090 like my PC does, which is awesome. So, and I also have my PlayStation 5 sitting here in the corner, which I can easily just rotate the HDMI cable from the computer to the PS5, and then the PS5 is connected to this as well. So it's just all very seamless for the most part, except switching that HDMI cable for all of the things that I have going on here. So now let's just go ahead and just talk about some of the issues that I had with this projector and screen that I work with support with. So let's go ahead and talk about the projector first. Now the projector, I didn't have any issues with or anything like that. It worked pretty flawlessly. The only thing that drove me crazy with the projector for a while was that PC issue that I talked to you guys about, because I was like, don't tell me this projector doesn't work 4K 60 in full color range, because limited color range will look like crap or not as good. And obviously that wasn't the case. It's just a setting thing that I finally figured out that no one talked about, which is really good. But the projector has been, really good. I didn't have any issues with that. The issue that I ran into was a lot of screen stuff. Now, their support has been great. They've been answering me back and forth. for the last couple of days working this stuff out, and most of it is now figured out. There's still some quirks. Originally, I thought the screen was broken and we were going to have to send me a new one, and they were prepared to send me a new one immediately. But didn't end up being the case. We got that figured out. The controller basically lost connection to the screen, like this remote here, and they gave me instructions that finally worked after trying it like a few times of repairing it back to the projector screen, and then the projector screen finally let me move it up and down again because it stopped working. So that's been working now, which is good. And then that USB thing that I showed you before, that USB sync thing that's supposed to bring the screen up and down when you turn the projector on and off, like I showed you guys before, that was not working either. And that was driving me crazy for the last 2 days. And they finally sent me instructions that they figured out. Because remember, this stuff is relatively new. This projector and the screen literally just came out. It's not like it's been out for a year. So some of these issues are being brought to their attention for the first time, probably, I would assume, or not many times. But what was really good is that they did help me. They went back and forth with me through email. They finally gave me the instructions that worked. Basically, I had to power off the projector by just unplugging the power cord on the left, plug it back in, don't touch anything else on the remote or anything, come back to the USB stick that I told you guys was plugged into here, and basically just hold the little button that's on the side of it. If you guys can see it on that angle, you just hold that little little button on there for 3 seconds. And when you hold that, the projector will kind of swivel and go back and forth for a second. And it will tell you that it's basically paired. And then that it did that finally. And then the USB stick was paired. It was supposed to come pre-paired from the factory, but for whatever reason, mine wasn't working. But after pairing it to the screen, as you guys saw, now it goes up and down the way it should. So that is really the only, those few issues that I just mentioned are basically the only issues I had with this. Granted, I almost thought I had to get a whole new screen, which is going to drive me insane, because after putting it on the ceiling, nobody wants to take that thing down, and especially with, measuring all that and getting all that stuff lined up. But luckily that it's not the case. The only issue I still have left is that, the projector, when it goes all the way up, sometimes goes a little higher than I want it to, which I'm working with them to figure out. But that's not the biggest deal, regardless if it doesn't get fixed or not. But that's the only issue I have left that I'm still working on them. But their support has been good. They've been going back and forth with me. So we'll see how that goes. But I love the screen, especially when they threw it in for free, and how much better it is than my old screen. It's nothing to complain about. All right, so let's go ahead and do my final thoughts on this home theater setup and all of this stuff. Obviously, this room got a massive upgrade on where it was before. So much better than what we had before with the Epson 5040. Now we have this projector here. We got the screen here. We got the new Denon Receiver. Vastly improved movie experience. Vastly improved gaming experience on Xbox. Vastly improved. Now I can play my PC on here at the full color range, which I couldn't do on the Epson 5040. HDR support, which I couldn't do on that Epson 5040 either. 3D is much better on here. The best 3D experience I've ever had, except for the Apple Vision Pro, due to the nature of how movies are encoded on there. So it's not even an issue of the quality of this. It's just 4K 3D movies are being supported better on the Apple Vision Pro right now with the 4K HDR. But man, what an experience this has been. Valerion's obviously a new company-ish that's come out with this projector that went on Kickstarter, made a whole bunch of money, released this product to people, and it really is as amazing as they said it was. This is tenfold better than my old projector that I had before. Love the mount, love the projector. If you guys want to get this, I would definitely hop on this soon, because like I said, you're getting a $1,500 screen for free included at 120 inches, which is insane. It's their best screen that they sell. And I would definitely hop all over that if you can. I think it's available for the next week or two. But even if you miss out on the deal and you watch this video later, I still think the screen, you get what you pay for. Like I said, getting a $300 screen, you're going to see what you pay for, like I had before. This is a much better screen. Motorized, goes up and down, syncs automatically with the projector, all of that stuff. So it really is a nice looking screen, white to match your walls and everything. Much better quality than what I had before. So I'm super happy with this whole entire setup, and it's just awesome. I don't think there's anything else I can say more about this. I think everything that I wanted to say in this video, I kind of already said. So if you guys have any questions about anything you guys have seen in today's video, obviously leave them down below and I'll answer them to the best I can. Hopefully you guys learned a lot in this video. And again, if you guys want to support me and the channel, there'll be links down for everything that we talked about in the video down in the description below. And thank you guys for watching. Until next time.